Hi, I'm Duncan from Fishhead, and today we're talking about rigging assist hooks yet again. This is the third video in the series. This time we're going a little different, doing some more finesse stuff and showing you how to splice hollow leader or the hollow assist cord inside itself. Okay, so for this video you're going to need some assist cord like that. That we can make into hollow assist cord. We have our hooks. In this case it's the Decoy Pike hypers. So these ones are the flattened ends on the eyes. Really nice for doing this kind of rigging. So we'll have a couple of those. We need a pair of scissors. We will be using some flash material as well. We'll put a bit of flash on these. Come back to that later. And rings to tie your assist to. So in this case we're going to be using the Decoy GP Ring. And we need some kind of splicing needle. So there's a few of these available out there. This one is just a metal rod with a little wire loop on the end. Not sure you can buy those ones anymore. I have also used quite successfully just a folded over piece of single strand wire. So many times that is quite effective because it is so thin, it's easy to poke through the very thin materials. So yeah, if you can't get a splicing needle, just some folded over piece of single strand wire will do the job. Right, on to making this. So with this kind of assist, you've probably seen them on the shelf, but it's the really neat, tidy looking one where the cord feeds back inside itself. So you just have, instead of having two cords going down to your hook, you just have the one single one. So what we do is cut ourselves about twice as much as we think we need because it's going to go inside itself. Now these cords are hollow inside, but they do have a center core. So you just give it a bit of a massage to expose the center core. Grab that and then slide the center core out. You could possibly use that core on some really ultralight assists, but yeah, this is the hollow section that we want. Okay, so we fold it over, make a rough guess as to where we want our cord to go. Then we're going to put the needle into the cord somewhere round about where our loop is going to finish. If I was doing it with the folded over piece of wire, I'd do it from the other end. I'd push it up from the end of go from this camera, go up from the end of the cord all the way up and poke the loop out to pull it back inside itself. But with this needle, I'm going to push it downwards. So to get it into the cord, first of all, you just push the cord together, give it a bit of a massage to loosen all the fibres up. And then just gently give it a bit of a poke around with the end of the needle, and it'll work its way in. Something like that. So, see that? Okay, so that's the outer section, and this will be the bit that folds back inside. Slide that all the way up to the end. And key bit to remember at this point is we need to put our little solid ring on there. Done it many times where I've made the loop, pulled it all up, and then realised there was no solid ring in there. Poke that through the eye of the needle. Then I usually give this a bit of a mash to make the end flat, because initially it won't want to go back inside the cord because it's a bit too fat. So if we just massage the cord a bit to soften it, and then I'm going to start sliding that up into the needle. To get going, usually it's a bit stubborn, doesn't like going into the cord, but if you just keep massaging it, it'll eventually just slide through. There we go. So now we have the ring on the loop, which I'll slide that up nice and tight. And smooth it down like that. So now we have one single cord on the solid ring. Looks like on this one I've made the inner core cord a little bit longer than the outer one. Ideally you want that to be the reverse. Outside cord should be longer than the inside. So what I can do here is just slide the cord back up. Chop that down a little, and then pull the outer sleeve back down. The outer sleeve is what gives it all the strength, because as you pull on the outside sleeve, all of the weaves clamp down like a finger trap and hold that centre core inside so it can never come out. Okay, so now we just have to attach it to the hook. Two ways of doing that. Again, we're using the flattened end, so no eyes on these. So all we have to do is either do a simple hitch, so you can just do one overhand hitch over the back of the hook. So I'll just show you that for now in very similar way to how we would have done one of the first videos, just hitching over the back of the hook, and then we bind off the end here just to hold it down and tidy it up, and that locks itself against there. Or you can go the other way with this thinner cord, is that you can poke the hook straight through the cord. Just try not to stick your fingers there. So the cord is pretty strong. That's a 120-pound cord, and that goes simply through there, and then we bind down over there, and that holds it very tight. Looks too good to be true, but does work. It's not something I would use for super heavy duty assist rigs, but all of the light tackle stuff, it works extremely well. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick whip finish over that, just to bind it up, and Okay, another part that I forgot to mention at the beginning was that we need our bobbin and some thread. Just going to make my little pull through loop to finish off the whipping with the bobbin. There you come. Okay, we'll need that little loop at the end. I'll speed through this. Okay, so that's nicely finished off there. Well, not finished, but whipped over, so that's all nice and secure. Now, I'd like to add a little bit of flash to this one. Some people love flash on their assist hooks, other people don't like it at all, but it definitely has its place some days when the fish are not biting so well. It can make the hook itself a little bit more attractive to the fish to bite at. So what we're using here is Krystal flash, one of many fly tying materials that can be used for adding flash to hooks. Krystal flash has just been around forever. It's good stuff, comes in squillion colours, and it's pretty easy to work with. So if you make just a little bit of flash on your hook, it'll add just a tiny bit of sparkle. If you add a lot of flash to the hook, you can make something that's almost like a lure in itself that the fish can aim for. So if you're fishing for larger reef fish that are, not really hungry, sometimes it seems like they'll get attracted by the jig, but they see that little bit of flash hanging off the side and it's like they can't help themselves, they've just got to peck at it. And so that can be great on days where the fish are not biting too well. But if you add a lot of flash, it can definitely affect the way the jig swims. So if you want to get the best swimming action out of your jigs, I would say less flash is good. If you're wanting to use the jig as an attractor for some reef fish where you want them to peck at the hooks, then adding flash or squid skirts and things like that can be very, very good. So you start to get away, the more you add to it, the more you get away from a traditional jig and the more your assist starts to become like an Inchinku jig where the metal jig is just kind of fluttering slowly to attract the fish, and then on the Inchinku you've got your squid skirt hanging off the back, which is what you want the fish to actually attack. So whichever way you do it, you can play around with a few different ones and see what works best for you. Also, if you have issues with your hooks hanging up on the jig sometimes, it can be worth putting just a little bit of flash on there, because that way, as you rip the jig up and let it flutter back, the hooks will hang in the water a little bit higher, so the jig will fall first and then the flash will hold the hooks out and away from the jig just a little bit more. So it's not a bad thing in that situation either. All right, so to put our Krystal flash on, we don't need a huge amount here, but what we will do is you get about twice the length that you need and half the thickness of what you want. So I'm just going a few strands in this case. So we've got, it's at about 10, 12 centimetres long. We can trim it back later if need be. But you simply lay your flash straight on top of the back of the hook in about the middle of where you want it to be. So you've got overhang both sides. This is when you're tying in synthetic materials. If you were fly tying, this is the way you would always tie them in. Because synthetic materials, you want to lock them into place so they don't slide out from under the threads. And because they're not tapered, so they're the same at either end. If you're using natural fibres, typically they're tapered from fat to thin, so you have to kind of tie them off at the fat end and the thin end pokes out there. But these sorts of materials are the same both ends. So we just bind them in, just gently to start with, and I'm just making sure that the flash is all sitting on where I placed it and it's not spiraling around the hook, making a mess. And I'll work up to the top of where I want to be. Then we simply get the rest of our flash, fold it back over on itself. So I'm going to hold that. At this point, if you had a fly tying vise, if you are into fly tying, you're probably sitting there thinking, why doesn't he put it in a fly tying vise? Not everyone has one, and also it's really not that hard with these larger hooks just to literally hang on to it and spiral around. But if you were working on this, doing a bit of a production line at home and you have a fly tying vise that will fit these hooks, then definitely whack it in the vise at this point. And then we just bind back down over the top. Till we're happy with where the flash is. So that's all locked in there, never going to come out. So that's a pretty small amount of flash. We haven't gone overboard with that one. Some people will put a whole lot more on there. It's up to you really. And then I'll just come back up to the top just to make it look nice. Grab our little pull through loop. So this bit's the same as we've done on all the other assist rigs where we've bound them up. So we poked the tag end through our loop. Now just grab, try not to get caught up in the flash, which it does want to. And we just pull that through. And as with all the other ones, now I'll just coat that with a little bit of epoxy, or in this case UV curing glue, and we'll be done. Okay, so to quickly finish, I'll just put a little bit of UV cure glue on it, make it all nice and tidy, and take the lid off too. It's got the double lid on this one. Just have to be a little bit more careful with this one because it has the flash material there. Try not to spooge the stuff on the flash material. So that's a single hook. At this point you could go and hang another one off the other side and do a double setup. So however you like to do it is fine. You can play around with that. It's a little bit more technical than just your standard assists. It's not something I tend to do every day because there is so much off-the-shelf stuff that you can get. But if you're getting into it and you have a specific need for your jigs, or you're just looking for things to do while you're sitting down of an evening, you can make a bunch of these in all different lengths. You can make them different hook sizes and different amounts of flash and stuff like that too. So you can set yourself up pretty quickly with a whole big bunch of hooks to suit all of your jigs specifically. All right. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back again soon with another tech session and show you some more hints and tips on things to do with jigging and popping. Thank you.